Hello everybody, Jeremy Dickinson here. Thank you for watching. In this video I want to talk about the abortion debate. And in particular what I'd like to do is talk about Judith Jarvis Thomson's landmark essay, Defense of Abortion, which was written in the early 1970s and is designed to establish the pro-choice position. And the pro-choice position, as I'm understanding it in this video, is the position that has it that abortion is generally widely permissible, ethically speaking. Conversely, the pro-life position will be understood as a position which has it that abortion is broadly, generally unacceptable. Now, in this video, I really want to focus on the ethical acceptability or unacceptability of abortion, as opposed to thinking about its legal counterparts. So I think that it's pretty clear that these can pull apart from each other. The ethical and the legal can pull apart from each other in thinking about abortion. When we think about cases where someone is pro-life, they're morally opposed to abortion in most cases, they still might think that that it's legally okay for a female, a mother, to have an abortion, because the government has no right to tell women, mothers, females what to do with their bodies. So I'm going to be focusing on the ethical, the moral permissibility and permissibility of abortion in this video. And so just to recap, there's the pro-life and the pro-choice positions. The pro-life has it that abortion is generally, ethically, morally impermissible. The pro-choice position has it that it's generally, ethically, morally permissible. Thomson argues for the pro-choice position, and what she does in this piece is she begins by examining a traditional pro-life argument and shows where the argument fails. Now, what was so groundbreaking about Thomson's piece here, her 1971 Defense of Abortion piece, is that she responded to it in a very unique way. So let's see if we can understand the traditional pro-life argument that Thomson's responding to. Here's how it goes. It's commonly believed by both pro-choicers and pro-lifers that persons are the kinds of entities that have the right to life. There's something about being a person that that secures that individuals having a right to life, the right not to be killed, etc. So having the right to life seems to imply having the right not to be killed. So traditional pro-lifers, they argue that, well, guess what? Fetuses are persons. So they argue fetuses are persons, and given that persons are the kinds of entities that enjoy the right to life, the right not to be killed, fetuses likewise enjoy the right not to be killed, and the right to life and the right not to be killed, and thus they have the right not to be aborted. So that's a traditional pro-life argument in a nutshell. Okay? Persons enjoy the right to life. Fetuses are persons, so fetuses enjoy the right to life. And guess what comes with that? The right not to be killed, the right not to be aborted. Now, traditionally, this argument was seen to revolve around the premise that fetuses are persons. Pro-lifers would give arguments for the personhood status of fetuses, going back all the way to conception. Pro-choicers would argue against the pro-lifers and say, no, fetuses aren't persons, and if they're not persons, then they don't enjoy the right to life and don't have the right not to be aborted. That's where the debate hinged for a very, very long time, until Thomson came along. So this is the groundbreaking move, the revolutionary move that Thomson makes in her piece. She says it doesn't matter that premise is true. Let it be true for argument's sake. It still does not follow that abortion is wrong. It doesn't follow that fetuses can't be aborted. Okay, so she needs to argue for this. Now, just side note here. Typically, when a pro-choicer would respond to the pro-life argument, they would complain. They'd say, surely mothers have the right to decide what happens into their body, even if it's true that fetuses have the right to life. Well, the pro-lifer would respond by saying, the right to life is morally more important than the right to decide what happens into one's body. So pro-lifers thought that they had a way of deflecting certain challenges developed by the pro-choicer. Now, Thomson doesn't think that the pro-lifer in this case has argued successfully. So here's what Thomson does. Let's assume fetuses are persons. Okay, let them be persons from conception. Under her breath, she's going to say they're not really persons from conception. They become persons at some point in their development, but certainly not from conception. But still, right, it's not going to follow that pro-life is true. Okay, so here's what she does. She has us imagine a series of cases. A series of cases where we have individuals in questions who are taken to be, assumed to be persons, and showing that they don't have an unconditional right to life. Or that they have a right to life, it doesn't mean that that right holds in some kind of sacred way, meaning that the right to life doesn't guarantee that one will always have the resources to that which will keep them alive. Okay, let's see if I can unpack this a bit. That's a bit abstract. Thankfully, Thomson gives us several cases to think about. Violinist-case, the first one. Imagine you find yourself hooked up to a violinist medically. You're hooked up to the kidney of an unconscious violinist. Violinist is a person, it's unconscious for medical reasons. You're the perfect match for the violinist. You weren't consulted. You were forcibly removed from your home, drugged, brought into the hospital, hooked up to the violinist, and then you come to, and you're told that you have to remain hooked up to the violinist for 9 months, not chosen randomly there. And you're told that if you were to unplug from the violinist, that the violinist will surely die. So you find yourself in this situation. Imagine you're in this situation. I know it's a crazy situation, but imagine you're in it. Do you have the right to unplug? Even though that would mean that the violinist is sure to die. Here's what Thomson says. Of course you have the right to unplug. And if you have the right to unplug, then the violinist's right to life in this situation, the right not to be killed in this situation, right, does not morally outweigh your right to decide what happens in and to your body. So likewise, there will be cases which a mother's right to decide what happens in and to her body will outweigh the right of the fetus to life. Now, it's important to keep in mind the restricted range of permissibility that this violinist case proves if it's successful. The range of cases involve rape. In those cases, a mother is, a woman is, a female is made pregnant against her will. In such cases, Thomson argues, just like you'd have the right to unplug from the violinist, the mother would have the right to unplug, quote unquote, from the fetus. What's the common element in both cases? The fact that in both cases, the entity in question that you're plugged into, that the mother, the female, is plugged into, was not given the right to the use of the body in question. So, you weren't given, you did not give the violinist the right to use of your body, and the mother didn't give the fetus the right to use of her body. So in both cases, it's permissible to do the unplugging. The unplugging, of course, in the abortion case is going to involve the death of the fetus, given that modern technology is what it is. So the violinist case attempts to establish that. So having the right to life doesn't guarantee the right to that which will keep someone alive. It's a very, very important point that she's trying to make here. Okay? The violinist may have the right to the use of your body, but only in cases where you would consent to it. Likewise, fetuses have the right to the use of mother's body only when the mother has consented to it properly. Okay, violinist case. Next case that she has us consider, move a little quicker here, is the case of a rapidly growing child. Suppose you find yourself, wonky situation. You find yourself with a child, your child, in your home, a tiny home, very tiny home. And there's a child that's growing, your child growing rapidly. Strange genetic mutation happens. You're getting smashed up against the wall, and you're going to die. Okay? The child will be fine. Will break free from the home. Will exit, as Thomson puts it, a free man. The child's a person if the fetus is a person. Do you have the right to self-defend in this kind of case? Here's Thomson. Of course you do. Likewise, in cases where fetuses endanger the mother's life, fetuses are persons, remember, have the right to life, the right not to be killed. The mother has the right, in that case, to self-defend. And the self-defense involves aborting the fetus. So abortion is permissible in cases of rape, in cases where the mother's life is in danger. Now Thomson wants to push past this. One can be a pro-lifer who holds that abortion is permissible in these two cases. So Thomson needs to extend her argument further. And here's how she does so. Even in cases where a couple has taken a reliable precaution to avoid getting pregnant, it'd be permissible for them to have an abortion. How so? Imagine the following case, another wonky case. You're living in a world where people seeds float around outside. Okay, you keep your windows closed regularly. Okay, in order to prevent the people seeds from getting in, because they'll blow in from time to time, you've got to put up some mesh screens. It's perfectly reasonable that you open your window. Okay, but you want to make sure that people seeds don't get in, because they make it in your home, then they grow in your home, they root in your home, and these are full-fledged persons, but they're developing still, and they're developing into beings like us. Okay, fully developed human, fully developed persons, something like that. Even though we're assuming that, in this case, the people seeds are fully fledged persons, there's still development that has to be done. Well, now suppose you put up one of those screens. They're only 99% reliable. Okay, one of them makes its way into your home. You opened your window for air, and look what happened. Okay, you took reasonable precaution to avoid a people seed from taking root in your home. It takes root in your home anyways. Permissible for you to uproot? Even though that's going to involve the killing of the people seed? Here's Thomson. Absolutely is permissible. Likewise, it's permissible for a couple to have an abortion, okay, in cases where they took reliable precaution when they opened their window, when they reasonably opened their window, when they reasonably engaged in intercourse, okay, and got pregnant, despite the fact that they didn't want to be pregnant. So in both cases, reasonable risks existed and were taken, but things didn't go the way desired. And Thomson says that just like in the case of the people seeds, having the right to uproot and thus kill the people seed, a couple can opt for an abortion in cases where they get pregnant when they weren't trying to get pregnant and they were being responsible about it. Now this seems to push well past the pro-life position. And Thomson doesn't want to tell us where exactly to draw the line, but she's pushed it far enough to the pro-choice side, if her arguments are successful. She does think that it can be impermissible, indecent as she puts it, to have an abortion in some cases. Cases where a mother has been pregnant for 7 months and she wants to go on vacation. And for that weak reason decides, I want to have an abortion so I can go on vacation instead. Thomson said that'd be indecent, that'd be the wrong thing to do. Why? Perhaps because in those kinds of cases, a mother has given the fetus the right to use of her body. All right, that concludes part 1 of my discussion of Thomson. Be on the lookout for part 2. Thanks for watching.